You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast with Sinan and Kaan.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru aksınlar gitti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Roma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Welcome back, everybody! Episode 101.
Dalmatians.
101 Dalmatians. Beşiktaş International's The Black Eagles podcast is back. I am your host, Sinan, live from New York City. And as you may have heard, alongside me today is, once again, Kaan, everybody! How you doing, sir? Dalmatians.
Yeah. Been a while since I've seen that. Cruella de Vil, something.
Because Dalmatians are black and white, so it's a sort of apropos introduction of sorts. But yeah, of course, we're back today with just a match. We're back on our usual schedule. Or I guess Beşiktaş is back on their usual schedule of just playing weekly in the league, for better or worse. And of course, this week we were at home against Gaziantep, Gazişehir. It was sort of homecoming for our new manager, Sergen Yalçın, who, spoiler alert, is still the only undefeated coach in Beşiktaş history. But yeah, let's jump ahead and talk about this match a little, Kaan. I guess, first of all, going into it, the lineup: Karius was in the goal, Gökhan Gönül, Caner Erkin on the side, on the flank of the defense, Vida and Victor Ruiz in the defense, El Neni alone as the central defensive midfielder, with Hutchinson in a central midfielder role alongside Ljajic in a slightly set back attacking midfield role, with Nkudu and Diaby on the wings and Burak Yilmaz up front. No real shocks, no surprises there. Thoughts, Kaan, going into this one? Did you think we needed these 3 points? Did you think it would be hard to get these 3 points?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be difficult because Gaziantep are a treacherous side. They can surprise you. I mean, they surprised Sivasspor last week, 5-1, I think it was. So they dealt Sivasspor their first defeat since they lost 3-2 to Galatasaray months ago, I want to say, in the league. Of course, they lost in the cup, I believe, against Malatya, but that was after they had already won the home leg emphatically with 4-0. So yeah, it's been a while since Sivas lost, and last week they got trashed by this side. So I definitely was wary going into this game.
Yeah, and of course, it's, we won our first match under Sergen Yalçın, but it was hardly like the most awe-inspiring, confidence-inspiring type of performance. I think we were maybe a little lucky even to get the 3 points.
Yeah, but based on the second half for sure.
Right.
First half was promising, but then I felt that the team was going back a little bit on their old tendencies in the second half.
We were reverting to Abdul Avci / Şenol Güneş tactics, because they sort of merged into the same thing at some point there. But yeah, and as far as this match, the lineup, again, I wasn't surprised really. I, of course, still want to see Boyd in there over Diaby. But, I mean, well, I don't want to talk about the match itself yet, but I'll say I think Diaby actually stood up fairly well here. Yeah, let's talk about this match. Let's just jump into it. And before I do so, I want to give a special shout out to Emre the fellow in Istanbul, who has been providing our stadium sounds for much of this podcast's existence, with the exception, of course, of Kartal the last time around. But so yeah, Emre, shouts to you. I'm giving you a salute, Mary Demiral style.
And go to Hair World Turkey if you want to get your hair done.
Yeah,
that's where Emre works.
we should record an ad for this fella over here. But yeah, thanks Emre, and enjoy the stadium sound. So let's talk football. As we said, big match, sort of tense going into it. A lot of question marks, nerves, etc. The first half would probably not dispel those nerves, if we're going to be honest. Not a particularly flattering performance there, especially the first 30 minutes, I'd say. About 25 to 35 minutes, maybe. It was pretty early for me, so to be fair, it was a little hazy, maybe. But one of the fascinating things is if you look at the match events, there is literally one thing in the half. They don't mention anything other than just the fact that Nkudu got a yellow card in the 39th. Undeserved. I thought that was a harsh card, to be honest. I'm trying to recall it specifically, but I remember Nkudu. Do you remember the card, Kaan?
I don't remember any of our cards. I only remember Junior Moraes committing multiple yellow card offenses, and I think he ended the match without a card. Whereas Gökhan Gönül got carded, which means he'll miss the Başakşehir game. We got 3 yellows, and they got like 1, I think. And
I'm trying to remember distinctly what it was, but I remember feeling that Nkudu was very fairly. He committed a foul, but it was not at all a yellow card. There was nothing sort of intentional.
It was, I think, he was defending, tracking back, or breaking down a counter or something. But it was nothing that Moraes hadn't done.
Yeah, no, and to be honest, I think it was like less than Moraes had done. Like it was kind of inane. I definitely felt aggrieved by it. This ref really had a pretty bad day, despite everything. But okay, let's talk about the match, I guess. So anyway, the half ended 0-0. Really tough beginning, but I do think we started to settle. Diaby, who I mentioned earlier, kind of connected on a few crosses towards the end of the half. Just generally, the team started to have initiative, I think, and started maybe Sergen yelled at them, reminded them of something. I don't, you don't ever quite know what's being said.
I think we had the initiative, but we were. I thought that Gaziantep were in the first half very effective at deploying their offside trap, and we were dangerous on multiple occasions. We were dangerous after like was it like a couple of minutes in, where Burak was sent through on the right side. Diaby ran to the center, and Burak crossed it, and Günay Güvenç, our former goalkeeper, got a touch to it, but then it fell to Diaby, and he slotted it home. But that one was ruled off for offside. Then a little bit later, Burak was sent through alone on the goalkeeper.
That was that fancy header, right? That he actually, I think, could have let it drop.
No. This was like a one-on-one opportunity that I don't remember.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But he came one-on-one with the goalkeeper, put it just narrowly wide. That was also waived for offside.
Yeah.
Then we have the fancy header, where Diaby did well to get past Junior Moraes.
Yeah, and this is actually already into that zone of time where we're starting to really look cohesive. Yes. Yeah. On that one, I thought Burak might have actually let it drop, and I think he could have put it in with his foot. But whatever.
He did well to control it with his chest, and then he decided to go for the header straight away. I think his idea was probably to surprise Günay, but he was in a good position.
Definitely.
Good save from him. And then we scored right before halftime again. Nkudu sending through Burak on the left this time. Burak centered it to Diaby, and Diaby scored but again ruled offside. So Diaby 2 goals ruled offside because Burak started his run just a little bit too early.
You know, and it's funny. I feel like there have been a number of goals Diaby has actually scored that have been waved off for various.
Well, yeah. Now recently, he had the one against Erzurumspor, a really nice one.
Yeah, exactly.
Now he has these 2, of course.
And I think earlier in the season there was another one as well. So that's interesting because for guys like Doruk in our group chat who like to pick on individual stats, which is sort of irrational when the team isn't putting up big numbers anyway. But it's just these like moments that are often even out of his control that dictate whether he has big stats or not. And he could, as he's shown. So that's unfortunate. But I mean,
he did really well here to run alongside Burak. It was interesting to see that Burak was the provider, rather than the finisher in those moments in the first half.
I mean, in some ways, that's been a strength of his this season more than his finishing ability, which has been perhaps lacking at times. But he has actually shown some initiative in build-up that kind of. It's funny because it reminds me of his first spell with Beşiktaş when he was played incorrectly on the wings. But so he's sort of channeling
his position back in the day.
Yeah, but he's sort of channeling that ability now. It's funny.
Yeah, but I think it wasn't until Şenol Güneş got a hold of him at Trabzonspor that he really turned him into a striker.
Yeah.
But this was the first time this season where I really had the impression that Burak was making a lot of runs in behind the defense. And despite that, I felt that Gaziantep had set up their defense really well, though.
Yeah.
Their
offside trap was really well executed.
Yeah, their offside trap was excellent.
I've complained often about our lack of offsides. So it really is an indicator of initiative. You kind of need to get caught offsides a couple times just to prove that you're making that effort. And so I think I even said that. Of course, I wasn't particularly happy with Burak's final touch, but in a way you can't really complain because he's certainly showing initiative. He's showing the desire.
Well, here his final touch was fine with those 2 assists, basically.
Yeah, well,
just that one finish, one-on-one. He had another one in the second half where he really should have put it home.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it was offside.
Yeah. But so at the half, Adem Ljajic was taken out for our debutant, Kevin Prince Boateng, who, I think everyone's going to be pretty happy with him after his debut. In the 47th minute, right as the second half is underway, Kanabi gets himself a yellow card for Gaziantep here. I didn't know they had Kanabi. He was a Senegalese national team guy, or Cameroon? I can't remember. But yeah, he's been around the block.
Yeah, it was a Kayserispor for a long time.
Yeah,
really good defender.
It's interesting, Gaziantep up the cuckoo clock, letting us know time is passing. Thank you. But anyway, 52nd minute, boom, we get a penalty. Let's talk about the penalty itself first. Kaan, what do you think? I mean,
terrible. Wasn't a penalty.
Yeah, I that's why I wanted to pass it to you because I know you.
Was a goal though, because Atiba actually scores on that play and he was offside, but because the defending player Gunay Vural, the winger, left winger, he touches it with his arm.
Yeah.
He's like jumping up for a block, but his arm is completely next to his body. He's not putting it out. He is not making
so you didn't see that? You didn't think that hand contact was a little blatant? Because the hand really gets up on it a little, I think.
He has his hand on his chest, I think, and his arm next to his body, and he jumps and he turns because he doesn't want to get the ball in his face or whatever. And yeah, it skims his arm, but
I thought his hand basically I think some people are thinking it hit his left arm and that was minimal contact, but I actually think his right hand, his right arm was tucked under his left arm, his right hand was sticking out, and I actually think his palm makes contact and it's sticking out. It's still, I think you could still make the argument it's fairly incidental, but
I'll have to look at that again. But regardless of whether that is the case, the referee for me makes a massive mistake by not allowing the goal, because as we learned the hard way against Antalyaspor last season at Vodafone Park, when the defender makes a deliberate play for the ball and touches the ball, the offside is lifted. So Atiba's offside, which he was a couple of centimeters offside maybe,
but it gets cancelled because of the contact by the defender, which we've been on the other end of, which you just mentioned, but it's
exactly, and we've been on the right end of that as well, with Guven scoring a goal from a similar position, I think earlier this season or maybe last season. Anyway, irregardless, that goal of Atiba, happy birthday by the way, should have stood. And in my opinion, the referee kind of screws us over, because what if we miss that penalty? He takes away a goal he gives Gaziantep a second chance, basically, to cancel out that goal if Gunay saves it. And and he's a decent goalkeeper from the penalty spot. He's got a couple of penalty saves under his belt. So that for me was just mind-boggling. I don't understand how that happened. I think it's a Kural Hatase, by the way, again, because that's the rules misapplied, in my opinion. Anyway, fortunately for us, it ends up in a goal, and that really that's what we needed, because I think Gaziantep, despite the fact that we had a decent amount of opportunities in the first half, but apart from, I think most of them were offside. I'm trying to think of if any of them were onside, where we really had the Burak header, of course, that was onside. But apart from that one, all the other ones were offside, so we shouldn't be counting those. They had it locked down pretty well.
Yeah, and they looked a little dangerous on the counter. I mean, it really felt like it was one of those games where if we didn't score, despite being probably the much better side, clearly even, that they could get us on the counter. Because Victor Ruiz made a couple sort of clumsy mishits of the ball. One of them he saved. I mean, luckily Karius was really, he wasn't really challenged, but he was very, what's the word for?
He was very serene.
Yeah, very calming, right?
Change.
Like, he really gave you that sense that he was commanding the zone. That's good.
But it was one of those games where, if you look at the highlights of this match, there's not a single Gaziantep highlight, I think. Yeah. But if you looked at the actual match, there were definitely moments where we had to clench, our
buttocks.
Our buttocks, indeed, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to the penalty again, 52nd minute, Burak Yilmaz, 1-0. And it's a very well-struck penalty, and I really have been. I'm impressed by Burak's penalty taking. It seems like such an inane, whatever, everyone can score penalties, but he really has a kind of artistry about it. That's
he's a really good penalty taker. Yeah. Doesn't mean he's flawless. He'll miss one once in a while. So don't. It's not 100% goal, but I've seen him miss a couple, but not at Beşiktaş now, I guess. But in the past, he's definitely missed a couple. But it's like Selçuk İnan at Galatasaray for years was almost flawless from the penalty spot, and then at some point suddenly he just couldn't score them anymore.
Well, he just got so old. And then anyway,
same age.
1-0. Could be time. Anyway, 1-0. We're up in the 52nd minute. 54th minute, Gökhan Gönül gets his yellow card. I didn't see it, honestly. I think I was still so excited about the goal. I did a lap around the house, and by the time I got back, I'd already missed the yellow, so I assumed it couldn't have been so bad because they weren't replaying it or anything like that.
I don't even remember it. Same here, yeah. I don't recall the yellow card, and it's one that has consequences, obviously, because he'll be suspended against Başakşehir.
We'll have to talk about Başakşehir because that's going to be the main talking point now. I think is who is our right back against Başakşehir here? Because that's obviously a vital position given how well Gökhan Gönül's played.
Either Douglas or Rebocho, I guess. Rebocho out of position on the right back. He's done it once or twice this season, and he did a good job at it. I mean, if you remember, Adriano did it quite a few times as well when he was still with us, and he did a really good job on the right back. So I'm curious to see. Maybe Kerem Kalafat's going to get a start. I don't know. But Gökhan was important last week with a crucial goal, and again here, this game, he was important offensively because he
assisted. Well, I guess let's just talk about it. He assisted the next goal in the 70th minute. And so there are a couple subs by Gaziantep here to try to turn things. They brought in Diarra, another African guy, striker, Twumasi, whose name I was impressed with.
Patrick Twumasi.
They took out Mohamed Demir, who's a name many Turkish football fans, would recognize. But yeah, I know. I can't believe I have never said that. I don't know where that came from. What a
now you have to walk naked through New York City, and somebody has to run after you with a bell. Shame.
But so yeah, 70th minute in this fantastic football match, not soccer. Boateng. I mean, wow, what can we say about this goal? First of all, this is the assist that Gökhan Gönül would provide to sort of underline his solid performance all around. And it was a nice assist. He got behind the defense, put it in well. But, my goodness, what a little finish we had from the Prince himself. So now we have a Prince and a Crawl, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right, that's pretty good. But so yeah, the Prince puts one away. Kaan, I'll let you describe it. I mean, what a beautiful finish, huh?
Yeah, Boateng gets the ball a couple of meters out of their box, and he he passes it wide to Diaby, who then gives it along with Gökhan on the right-hand side. All the while, Boateng is making a penetrating run into their box, and he just completely loses all of their defenders, and he pops up at the near post right in front of Günay's nose, and he just flicks it in. And great goal and a great celebration. Of course, with him doing some flip-flops, or however you call that.
Yeah, I don't know what did he... This is maybe the only question I have about the whole thing. Is did he botch that? Was he trying to do one of those big flippy things and then kind of went sideways? And how did that happen there?
Kind of looked like
flippy thing, right? Well,
looked like he might have botched like the third flick or something.
Good thing he didn't hurt himself. I mean, it's good to know these guys have an out for when it doesn't work.
It's supposedly stuff like that isn't very good for your back, so I hope he doesn't do it. I hope he score. I was gonna say I hope he doesn't score too many goals, but I hope he scores lots of goals and he doesn't do that celebration too often. Yeah. He can save that for when he scores the winner against Fenerbahce or Galatasaray or Trabzon or Başakşehir or whatever, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for a real moment where we can start trying to do it too and like break our backs in the front. So 74th minute, Jermaine Lens would enter the game for Diaby, who, round of applause for Diaby. I think he may have even finally gotten a bit of applause coming off the pitch. Jermaine Lens would come into the match. So again, no Tyler Boyd, but Jermaine Lens would, of course, have a positive impact. And, I mean, you and I both have always liked Jermaine Lens, so whatever. It is what it is. I think we'd probably both
have to
rather...
recognize that he has, like, a one-on-one opportunity in this match, like, just a couple minutes after coming on, and he just... It's like he can't finish ananymore, one-on-one.
He lost it there. Yeah, that was disappointing.
It's weird because at a point for when he was at PSV, there were, I think when like the main striker was injured, he was playing as a striker and he had a season where he scored quite a lot of goals as a striker.
I remember asking for him to be tried out as a striker a few times when we were not looking so good last season. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. But again, like I think it's a tough ask when you just enter a match too. Perhaps there's some... but we've consistently seen him now. That's true. Mess up one-on-ones. He's not too good at it. But he did finish. All right. First of all, before we get there, I should mention Caner Erkin got a yellow card in the 79th minute, but he's actually okay. for the next match. I just want to mention so that Coyote left the match and in came Kenan Uzer in the 80th minute. Some Beşiktaş fans will recognize the name. And he sort of impacted the match.
Former academy player of Beşiktaş.
He would later get a yellow card in the 88th minute. But before then, Burak Yilmaz would leave the match for Umut Nair.
Burak was one of the guys that was on a yellow card suspension if he would have gotten booked. So it's Atiba.
Safe. So it's a good sub. I mean, that's one thing we can say about Sergen Yalçın in just a short window of, viewing time. His subs make a whole lot more sense than Abdul Avci's ever did, just from this small sample size. But Kenan Uzer got himself that yellow card, and he was sort of petulant.
Yeah, but apparently he also said in his post-match interview that even Gökhan went to the goalkeeper, to the referee, and Gökhan admitted to the ref that he made contact, so that it was a penalty, apparently. So I understand why he was petulant.
I really felt he did a flap there. So yeah, he got the yellow card for flapping.
I watched the replay and there is mild contact, so not a flop.
Wow. Okay, I'll take your word for it. I thought it was a blatant one, but I didn't look that carefully, and I was just, he got the yellow, so I assumed, they always try to screw us on stuff, so they must have been genuine.
Shit.
But in the 5th minute of extra time, and there would only be 6, they would end it as this goal was being celebrated, essentially. I just spoiled it there. Goal. John Erkin would assist it. Nice little cross from sort of deep. Jermaine Lens with a really lovely header. So he can't get it done with his feet anymore. But maybe this is what he needs to be doing. We got by Quaresma Spore with Lens up front.
He's playing too much beach volleyball with his head maybe on vacation.
There you go. That's what it is. But so that's it. That's how the match would end. Beşiktaş victorious 3-0.
And you even skimmed over the disallowed goal from Umut in the second half. So in total, we had 4 disallowed goals in this match, 2 from Diaby in the first half, 1 from Atiba in the second half, and 1 from Umut Nair in the second half.
I missed that.
The first 2 ones were correct. The one for Atiba was wrong, and I also think that the fourth one, the one for Umut, which was at 2-0, by the way, not at 3-0. So
no, yeah, because he came in the 82nd minute. I mean, the third goal was literally the last moment of play.
But I also think that one from Umut was a wrong decision, because Boateng goes up for a headed duel and then goes down, and the rebound falls to Umut, who is in an onside position, and he scores. But they rule it off. I'm not sure if they rule it off for a fall or if it's an offside, but either are poor decisions.
So wow, so Umut should have had a goal. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's too bad, because as we have been subjected to it for the first time, to be fair, in my time with Beşiktaş International, but with Doruk, we have a stat fiend, who's always like, this guy's no good. Look how many goals he has. Look how many assists he has. Da, da, da. And so, like, these unfairly turned over stats, they feed people like that's argument, and that's unfortunate, I think. I felt great about this match most of the way through, barring those first 30 minutes. But even then, we were bending but not breaking. So I was actually kind of content in a weird... I mean, you know how we are, Kaan, in our slightly older age than the rest of those guys. Like, I think we handle things in stride more and tend not to freak out. So, I don't know. I was genuinely... I'm really enjoying the whole Sergen Yalçın experience, to be honest. The fact that it's been very successful thus far, icing on the cake, obviously, especially given that he's really just joined the team. So that's, impressive even. But, I mean, we really played good football, like dominant football for maybe 65 minutes. yesterday, which is great. And if you can manage to not concede in the slappy portion of the match, that initial part, all the better. And we did. We managed to hold firm. So a clean sheet, 3 goals scored. Maybe 3 more deserved that were taken off the score sheet. Like, that's really solid, especially, yes, given that Gaziantep are the ones who overturned Sivas's lengthy run of victories just recently. They're in fairly good form, and you can see that they've actually they've done a fairly good job of accumulating talent, kind of mid-tier talent that other sides around Turkey are letting go when they're not doing particularly well. But they're kind of getting the better talents among those groups, and they've put a pretty solid team out there. It's a good win. I'm pleased with it. 3-0 against this side is about as good as it gets, I think.
It's not bad. I mean, Fener trashed them in the beginning of the season, but that's when they were still building chemistry, and they had almost no chemistry. Plus, they got 3 penalties in 21 minutes.
They had a they had a Fener.
Those
situation.
Those penalties were correct.
All of them, I think one of them I remember.
Yeah, they were right. They were right.
No, one of them was not. I'm just joking. We're speaking about 3 months ago. Whatever. Singular moments, whatever. I don't even really remember what we're talking about. But yeah, all in all, they have a little bit ups and downs. Gaziantep have, but they are a formidable side, and they just got to sign a new player on loan from Mainz, Alexandru Maxim, and he had an amazing debut last week, scored 2 goals. He was just really, really involved against Sivasspor and total pain in their asses. And quite frankly, apart from Coyote, who was a little bit of a handful in the first half, I think we contained him pretty well, and there were a couple of, like we said, some butt-clenching moments for us in the first half on the break, but all in all, I think we played a good match. I didn't like the tempo all that much in the first half. I think our tempo was too low. The ball circulation didn't go quick enough, but that definitely improved in the second half. I do believe that's because of that really quick goal. But also, Boateng had a positive impact on the match. He definitely helped with the ball circulation and just. One thing, Kaan, I want you to mention before I move on to stats very briefly is you mentioned this before we started recording, but the run itself that the Prince made onto the goal, right? We mentioned the brilliance of his finish, but perhaps the most impressive part, Kaan, let me hand it over to you. I don't want to steal your well thought out talking point.
I just really liked how he ran kind of on the left hand side of the box and then totally crossed towards the near post. And just completely
a decoy move.
Yeah, he completely shook anyone who might have even thought of following him. Everyone lost him. People were watching other players, and then he pops up right in front of Gunay's nose to poke it away. And I thought I mentioned this while I was describing the goal earlier, so I thought you were maybe setting me up for something else, but I don't know. Yeah, I think we maybe mentioned the run before we recorded, but yeah, that was it. That's what I wanted you to say. Exactly. It really was a nice run, and he did a good job of making runs and getting involved and kind of being active in the offense for the time he was out there. So that was nice. Good debut. So, stats. And I think these are illustrative, useful this week. Beşiktaş had 17 shots to Gaziantep's 11, 8 on target to their 2. So that says a lot in and of itself. 68% possession for Beşiktaş to their 32. 594 passes completed to their 278. At an 84% accuracy clip to their 73%. 14 fouls committed to their 13. 3 yellow cards to their 2.
No red cards given in this match, obviously. 7 offsides for Beşiktaş. I love that stat. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it'd be nice if there was like 4 offsides and 2 more goals, perhaps. But you love the initiative that suggests. Gaziantep had 2 offsides. 10 corners for Beşiktaş to their 5. So, I mean, despite being up most of the match, we dominated possession. We kept playing our game. That's probably the most important aspect of this, is that we didn't get lazy or slappy. And I think Kevin Prince Boateng contributed in that sense, because he wanted to make a good debut, perhaps. And so he kept the vibrancy out there a little bit. But, in general, good accuracy. That's been a hallmark of Sergen Yalçın. I mean, we always passed fairly well, but really, we haven't dipped below 80% since in the 2 matches that Sergen Yalçın has managed. So it's interesting. I mean, it suggests maybe we're playing a much shorter passing game, a more deliberate style of passing.
But I did notice, though, I mean, I mentioned last week how I like the fact that Caner wasn't crossing the ball. But in the first half, he crossed it a couple of times.
He did, yeah.
So
but at the same time, it was not like dominating our offense, right? Like,
no, it wasn't our main attacking plan for sure. And also, I think one thing that was that they had the wings locked down pretty well. Nkudu, was constantly being followed by his man and was being locked down by, I think, 2 guys at all times, close down at least. So there were some moments where the only option was really to just cross and hope. But like I said in the past, like if you only have one real guy in the box there with Burak, then you're crossing the ball into the box with 4 defenders or something around Burak. It's kind of pointless. And now something I really liked in the second half with Boateng is that he constantly got involved in the battle in the box, basically. And that's something we have been lacking. Mm-hmm. I mean, Atiba tends to pop up in the box from time to time, but he's not that good at it.
Exactly, yeah.
And you can see there's something we have with Talisca. We had someone who was constantly up there, and we had someone who was going for the near post quite frequently, scored a lot of goals that way, just like how Boateng did today. And I think that's kind of something we have been missing in our offense. But at the same time, what we criticize Talisca for is that he didn't have the playmaking skills that we needed. So he did have that penetration.
It's all right. It's all right.
Those penetrating runs, which are important too, and having an extra body in the box. But I kind of prefer when that's the central midfielder who provides that, and you still have your 10 to.
Yeah, like Ozan did for a few months there. That really got us excited.
Anyway, so he came in. Boateng did for Lige, but I hope to see them on the pitch together in the near future.
Yeah,
because
I would hope that the decision, rather than it being should he play Ljajic or Boateng, it should be does he play El Neni or Atiba in that defensive midfielder role, and he just sort of locks in Boateng at central mid.
Especially in home games. I mean, I can see against stronger teams that he may still opt for both Atiba and the thing with Atiba right now, he just feels like he's in a really good form.
Sure does.
I mean, he had a really good match here again.
Yeah. So that's a question. Who's your man of the match? Who would you say was the biggest contributor to our win?
Burak. I think Burak.
Okay, I was going to go with Sergen. I'm going to give it to Sergen. He gets my first honorary ball of the game ball. Here's a question I wanted to ask you, Kaan, and this is maybe a nice way to segue into the future. We can start previewing what's going to come next. But how do you feel? We talked a little bit about how excited you were about Sergen coming in and coaching the team, and how it also came with nerves that a guy of such legendary specter in the club could potentially be deflated by some poor performances or whatever. And so obviously you're happy we've won and gotten 6 points in his 2 matches, but beyond that, how are you starting to just how do you feel about the whole thing now? Are you still nervous?
We did what we had. We did our jobs now. We had to win these 2 games. These were games that we could not lose, in my opinion. We could not drop points in these points. Now we have a couple of really tough games coming up. We have Başakşehir away is up next.
And then
I don't know
Trabzon
who
at home.
Trabzon at home, and then we have Alanya away. So we have 3 really difficult tests. 3 teams from the top 7.
Yeah, and it's worth
Başakşehir-
noting that Alanya just held Fener to a 1-1 draw after our match.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they did. And lots of crying afterwards.
it sure was. Yeah, I mean there always is that with those guys.
Alanya, these 3 games are gonna make or break our season, I want to say, because by some miracle we are still
A season
in
that
it.
we said has been broken like many times. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's true.
No,
but-
it's icing. It's like cherry on top if we can actually be competitive. I think we're probably already happy enough that we have a coach and a direction that's sort of bearing some fruit. That in and of itself is what we want to come away from the season with. And so if we learn that it's not Avci and transition to someone else and it's working out, like that's a good recovery. But absolutely, I think it would just add so much to the story and the lore of it all if we didn't just have that going for us, but it also started to bear some fruit, some significance onto the proceedings of the season itself, because it would be great. It's it's hard to look at the Super League as a Beşiktaş fan objectively and think of things as positive when we're in 7th place. But it's actually, I would imagine, from a neutral perspective, an exciting time in the league in that you actually are starting to see the dominance of the big 3 or 4 or whatever start to get punctured somewhat regularly. We're getting these, Yeni Malatyas and what have you, to creep up and be...
Alanya, Sivas, I think, are the best examples.
Yeah, Alanya in particular. Yeah. I mean, Yeni Malatya was short-lived to some extent. I mean, they're still up there a little.
They completely, they're done.
You think they're not going to make it?
No,
we kind of
have
anticipated that at the time anyway. But just seeing, I would imagine if you're coming to Turkey to play or manage and you're not getting signed by one of those other teams, you could still feel like, the world is your oyster. You can pretty much accomplish anything there because you really never know, right? Sivas, Alanya. I mean, there are other examples. Başakşehir here too, in theory, right? Because it's just been in the last few years that they've kind of very consistently entered that top 3 or 4 in the league, and that says a lot. It's not common in any of the European leagues that a team emerges and enters that conversation in the way that maybe Manchester City did in England most recently there. Trying to think of other examples elsewhere, but maybe Eintracht Frankfurt,
Leipzig.
or Leipzig or something. Yeah, I mean, but so yeah, it's fantastic because Frankfurt hasn't really done it consistently. Yeah, Leipzig has actually started to become regular players in the Champions League and stuff, like Başakşehir here. So I mean, no, it's a fascinating time to be interested in Turkish football. I would imagine. It doesn't feel like that often as a fan of Beşiktaş, and probably also a fan of Galatasaray or Fener. But I mean, I don't know. It's not all bad,
but
and it's still
season,
tight. It's still tight at the
Sivas
top.
are slipping, huh? Don't forget,
That's
they
true.
haven't won the last 3 matches. They drew 2 weeks ago. They lost last week, and this week they didn't win again. So they're losing that spot at the top, and Trabzon are taking over. They have a match in hand. If they win that, they'll be 2 points clear at the top. So Alanya and Sivas are playing bit roles, I think. Sivas are clearly not...
Ultimately, it's not very likely that they make it to the finish line, but I just mean that it's an interesting time, and because of how competitive it is, generally, really like the gap between where we are and first is not theoretically insurmountable. I think we're now 8 points back, and so again, if both of us win next week, we're going to be playing Başakşehir away. So if we maintain that 8-point gap, we come into the match against Trabzon, where if we win, we're then just 5 points back. It's really not bad. We've been sort of stalled in 7th place for a while because of where we were pre-Sergen, obviously. So even despite his wins, we haven't moved up. But the gap between us and 8th place has widened, and obviously in the rest of the mid-table or whatever. And we're really now in the thick of things where, like, literally next week, if we win and some of those guys above us drop points again, as they have very consistently, we're right back up into the European spots, I think. So,
yeah, but we haven't won in Başakşehir since like 2014.
But,
so we have to be realistic about it.
Well, big buts, and I cannot lie. Big but here, though, would have to be that history is very much tarnished by the Şenol Güneş Abdullah Avci spell, the curse of Avci that plagued us under Şenol Güneş for that time.
Yes, but Başakşehir are a formidable side, and Okan Buruk, they won't be easy to beat.
No doubt. I just wanted to. I think it's important to recall that history there too. So maybe in breaking the curse as far as Avci being there and Şenol Güneş being here, maybe we can overturn the tide finally and break the history that's worked against it.
I think people still need to remember, they're like, the atmosphere around the team, around the club right now is very popular, but the team itself, they aren't going to have suddenly become super confident because they won 2 games. The team is still, I think this is still a team that is mentally prone. Yeah. And if we go behind against Başakşehir, we're gonna really struggle. So we have to be very concentrated.
Yeah, we can't afford to have 30 minutes like we did in the beginning of this last match. That's for sure.
We have the quality to get something there. Obviously, especially now with Boateng is a quality injection for sure.
He'll start, I imagine.
Maybe, I don't know.
I suspect.
I don't know.
Yeah, with that kind of debut. And
I don't think that he's going to not start El Neni and Atiba.
Yeah, this might be one of those games where you're a little more careful, to be honest. But so yeah, if he does start Boateng, it would be overly. Yeah.
I just think that people need to be realistic. We're going into these 3 games. There are 3 difficult matches. It's very well possible that we end these 3 games with no points. It's also possible we end it with 3 points. Or 5 points, or 9 points, or 6 points. It's all possible, but 9 points is highly unlikely. 5 points, I think, would be good.
I would say 5 points should be the target. A couple draws and a win.
Not losing in these 3 games. If we come out of these 3 matches without a loss, that would be. I think that would be already. An achievement at this point, because you cannot underestimate the momentum Trabzonspor have right now. They are
so Kaan, this
on a roll.
This sort of goes back to the question that we started with here a little bit, and we've sort of moved forward from there and begun to preview the match against Başakşehir and all that. But when I asked how you feel about Sergen Yalçın, I feel like you're starting to answer that now in how you are very cautiously. I think you might be a little nervous, to be honest, about the excitement around these 2 victories and
the test. The real test begins now.
Yeah, well,
these 3 games are a real test.
Do you feel like these 2 wins have maybe raised the pressure a little bit, that people are now starting to expect results where they shouldn't? Because of course, you don't really expect a new manager to come in mid-season.
We are Beşiktash, so you always need to expect results. I think that the state we were in under Abdullah Avci the last months was abysmal and pathetic, and I don't think that's Beşiktaş should not be going into games expecting to lose, and that's where we were at with Abdullah Avci. Yeah. So I don't think that it's unfair for fans to expect at least a draw.
But you know what I'm saying, though, right? Like,
But yeah, but
realistically,
people-
when a new manager comes into a team mid-season, you don't expect them to win their first 2 matches or 3 or 4 matches, right? Like, that's probably not a realistic expectation in a vacuum of any manager coming to a new team, particularly mid-season, right? So
usually when a new coach comes in, there is a short-term shock effect type of thing where there's a little bit of breath of fresh air going through the team, where the first couple of results can be positive. And, I don't think that we have been properly tested. I think our performance in Riza, despite the good results, wasn't anything to write home about. I think we had a really good performance against Gaziantep, but it's possible that Gaziantep just had a massive off day. And we were lucky that we scored early in the second half. Now, as I said, that goal should have stood either way. So it's not like, we got a soft penalty, blah, blah, blah. No, that goal should have stood otherwise. So, yeah, but we got that goal, and that's something that's been an issue for us throughout the season, I think, where we just struggled to open the scoring. And I think that's going to be important now in these 3 games against Başakşehir, especially. If you go a goal down against Başakşehir, you know that you're going to struggle. Even though Sivasspor actually this weekend went a goal down and managed to still salvage a point, but I just think we cannot underestimate the seasons that both Trabzonspor and Başakşehir have had. They are the 2 most consistent teams in the league.
yeah, no doubt.
In my opinion.
No doubt.
Because you have to keep in mind Başakşehir had a really bad start to the season, just like we did. New coach and everything, but he got everything back on track, and ever since that opening 5-6 games, they have been the most consistent team in the league, probably, alongside maybe Sivasspor. But then Sivasspor, these last 3 games, have fallen off the wagon a little bit, and Trabzonspor are arguably playing the best football consistently.
The problem with Trabzon the reason I probably have underestimated them thus far is that they lost Yusuf Yazici, they lost Abdulkadir Omur because of the injury. You expected them to kind of collapse.
Has not impacted
right?
them.
They were supposed to collapse. The obvious wild card was Sorloth, who has really flourished somehow.
Well, they have had a lot of luck with how Surlov has absolutely exploded, but they have a really good team. Sosa, Nwakaeme, Badu Ndiaye, Sturridge on the bench.
Which is weird.
They have a formidable team. Filip Novak, Uğurcan is a tremendous goalkeeper. I think their main weakness is just, defensively. But they bought 2 central defenders, they loaned one and signed another, I guess. They, got Manuel da Costa, who we all remember from his time at Sivasspor and Başakşehir, solid defender, and then of course they also got the Brazilian Manuel on loan. So they got 2 new central defenders in. But they have a really strong midfield with Obi Mikel, with Sosa, with Badu Ndiaye now. They have Ekuban still. They have Nwakaeme, who's amazing on the left. They have Yusuf Sarı, who I really like, on the right. They have Sturridge in their back pocket. They have Alexander Surlov, who got a red card this weekend, so he'll miss at least 1 game in the league. Depending on how long he will be suspended, 2 or 3 matches. He may miss the match against us. I don't think he will, because I don't think that what he did warrants a 3-match suspension. So people are comparing it to what El Neni did in the beginning of the season against Gaziantep, when Coyote, what did Coyote do? Kick him, and then he kicked him back, or he elbowed him. Coyote elbowed him, and then he reacted and kicked him.
Yeah.
And then he got 3 games for that. And Surlov this weekend, he got kicked twice by Baiano from Gençlerbirliği, and then he turned around and pushed him, but he kind of pushed him in the face.
Yeah. Sort of like a neck push, right?
Yeah, some people are making that into he hit him in the face, but it was just a push. He's just, the guy is 1.94 meters tall, and Baiano's I don't know, 1.5 meters or something. So know. So yeah, I don't think Surlov should be getting a long suspension there. So for me right now, Trabzonspor are the real deal and the big favorites for the title. And let's not forget, they whooped our asses in Trabzon, and it was a little bit flattering, I felt like, but still, it was 4-1. We're, of course, at home at Vodafone Park, but they score so easily. So
yeah, it's effortless for them. It seems like they really have a system. To be honest, it feels like they can weather an off day by just playing the way that the way they're supposed to play. Whatever that means. And
what we used to do under Şenol Güneş the first 2 seasons, we had patience. We knew the goal was going to come, and we had confidence in that. And now we're still very much in the process of building up our confidence.
We're getting back, hopefully.
It just takes one kink in the road to derail us again. So we are up against 3 really tough opponents now. So these 3 weeks are going to be very telling. And I think we're a little unfortunate in that regard. If you compare that to Galatasaray, for example, who came out of winter break just as mentally broken as we did, I think.
But coming into an easier schedule, I guess. Right?
Yeah, they've had a very easy schedule, and they aren't facing anyone like. How many weeks are we in now? 18, 19, 20, 21. So 4 match days in. And all the other teams in the top 7 have faced at least one other team in the top 7. Galatasaray have only had, I think their toughest challenge has been, I guess, Denizli, and apart from Denizli, they've only had like teams who are on really poor form right now, like Kasımpaşa this weekend, like Konyaspor, who just sacked Aykut Kocaman, and now next week they have Malatyaspor, who are completely slipping and falling off the radar. So they're lucky with their schedule at the moment, whereas we are going into these next couple of weeks with tough games. We just played Göztepe in their stadium opener, which was very tough too. And of course we played Sivasspor on the opening match day of 2020. So we've had a tough schedule compared to them. And, Trabzonspor have had their fair share of tough opposition. They, of course, just played against Fenerbahce, and Başakşehir have played against Fenerbahce already. They played against, where else did they play against? Sivasspor this weekend. So, what was the point I was trying to make? I don't even remember. But
sure, I think your point is that we're going into a really tough stretch, and this is,
right.
It's do or die. Yeah. But realistically, I think dying shouldn't be like the death of Sergen Yalçın, we're not. I think your point is basically that we're not in the position that they're in. So if we don't reach the heights that they do, we shouldn't look at that as a knock on us.
We don't have this opportunity to build up a lot of steam before we go into those tough fixtures.
Right.
Like Galatasaray right now, they have an opportunity to build up tremendous amount of steam and a lot of confidence.
And to be fair, they'll have a harder end of the season by that logic. But your point stands that they'll have more momentum.
Yeah, they will have the momentum on their side. Whereas we, just picked up a little bit of momentum, and now we're headed into a 3-match stretch, which is going to be really tough. On the other hand, if you come out of this 3-match stretch with really positive results, that's of course going to launch you for a good run towards the end of the season, hopefully. But it's too early to. Yeah, I don't know what to expect.
We've accepted that this was a lost season already on a few occasions, so maybe we should at least temper our expectations so that we're not heartbroken if we don't perform a miracle here and get back into it. I'm with you on that. But I think that really covers the majority of the content for this week as far as this match. And previewing the next few matches now. I should mention that the Knicks curse is back. When Beşiktaş wins, the Knicks win on the same scheduled date, and ditto with the losses. So hopefully, either the Knicks don't play on the same day as Beşiktaş in the coming weeks, or somehow the Knicks keep winning. That curse is alive. Kaan, take us out, really. Unless you have anything else to add, I don't.
No, I don't think so. I think we covered it pretty much top to bottom, and it's fun to just have to talk about one match.
Exactly. I was gonna say it's nice to be able to really go into a match rather than like briefly talking about like 4. So yeah, that's a good positive here. But yeah, take us
Just
out.
one more thing. I was very disappointed today as I was watching Umraniyespor, and both our players Erdem Seçkin and Aydin Hasic started on the bench. Erdem came on in the 39th minute, but unfortunately, Umraniye went down early in the second half, 0-2 after just 60 minutes. Then they used up their last sub, and Aydin Hasic didn't come off the bench. So at that point, I just tuned out. Also because Erdem wasn't really impressing me, it was kind of disappointing. So I was like, I'm not watching this. So I just switched to the Kayseri match,
Nice.
Kayseri Antalyaspor.
Yeah, well, that's something to keep your eyes on, there, folks. Certainly.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my eyes on it. I want to see Aydin Hasic in action, but no luck this week, unfortunately. But at least he was in the squad. Last week he wasn't in the squad yet. So,
and I guess when they're
thing.
down, perhaps they don't want to try something new that makes sense. So. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, take us out.
Yeah. Just subscribe.
Yeah, you know the deal.
Tell your friends. Tell your kids, tell your wife, don't hide them, but tell them. Tell them about the Black Eagles podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Eagles_podcast. Follow Beşiktaş International at Beşiktaş_int. Follow Sinan at Sir_right_a lot. Follow me at RAZZERIAN.
Or Z, for
just
those of you who are cultured. No, I'm kidding.
Z. That's the culture.
I know, yeah, technically that's true.
Go and check out the show notes for all those handles if you'd like. Oh, and also one more thing for all you loyal listeners of the Black Eagles podcast. Go on Twitter, follow at Footy a la Turca, and take part in our shirt giveaway contest.
Hey.
We are celebrating our 1-year anniversary coming up on the 20th of February. So on the February 25th episode, we will announcing the lucky winner of any Turkish team, the football shirt of any Turkish team. So if you participate in this contest, you will have a chance at winning the shirt, and the shirt will obviously be of your choice. So if you're listening to this, I would expect it would be a Beşiktaş shirt. So just go
Unless you've been dying for that Karşıyaka shirt or Altay that you've been dreaming of.
Yeah, I do have to add though, yes, you'll be able to win a shirt of any Turkish club, but under as long as we can order it online.
As long as you can
and
find
have
it, yeah.
Exactly. As long as we can order it online and have it shipped out to you directly from where we can order it, because otherwise it's gonna get super complicated. Anyway, so just go to Footy a la Turca, find that tweet. It's one of the most recent tweets. The what is it, like a giveaway, or you'll see it when you just like mark with the stars and stuff. Anyway, the only thing you need to do is follow that account at Footy a la Turca.
Share the tweet.
And exactly. Retweet the tweet, and also respond to the tweet with a print screen showing that you're subscribed to Football a la Turca on any podcast device. So whether it be the podcast app or Spotify, Google Music, Stitcher, whatever, any platform that you follow on, share that print screen so we know that you subscribe to
Just
the
not
podcast.
Podbean,
And then,
remember.
yeah, no, exactly. We moved.
That,
so Football Turca moved from Podbean to Transistor now since we joined the Big Heads Media Network. So anyway, if you want to have a chance at winning a Beşiktaş shirt, or I don't know, if you're a closet Fenerbahçe fan, Fenerbahçe shirt.
No.
Go and check out at Footy a la Turca, and you will have a chance at winning that one shirt we are giving away. And next year we're celebrating a 2-year anniversary, so maybe we'll give away 2.
Ooh. Well, I of course have one last note. It's of vital importance. The future of the world is teetering on the brink on the precipice of doom. Unless I say this last bit of just vitally important information. Go Beşiktaş! And good luck, guys. Have a good week. Hopefully we this stuff going against Beşiktaş. IBB, as I like to call them.
Belediyespor. Yeah, we are missing an incredible Milan derby, by the way. Inter 2-0 down, but turned it around now 3-2.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, by the time you listen to this, it's too late. But anyway, go check out the highlights.
I don't really care.
No, I want Inter. I want Inter to win because they can really level with the
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.